Hey there, folks. Andrew here. So, the Super NES Classic Edition launched recently, and I didn't buy it. That's not because I'm a cheap curmudgeon. I am a cheap curmudgeon, but that's not why I didn't buy one. I didn't buy one because I already have a Super NES. I have a lot of games. Many of the games that are on the list. Although my library is a bit different from what the Super NES Classic Edition offers, so I thought it would be interesting and maybe slightly amusing for me to compare the Super NES Classic Edition's lineup with my own collection. Oh my god, that's terribly dusty. Oh, that's terrible. Hang on. Yes. Okay. Where was I? Okay, so let's compare the Super NES Classic Edition lineup with my own Super NES games collection. Well, first of all, I obviously don't have Starfox 2. No one has Starfox 2. It was never released. Okay, side note, some people had an early build of it. Some people blah, 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 whatever. Okay, I don't have Starfox 2. So, you know, +1 to the Super NES Classic Edition. But I do have Starfox, just like the Super NES Classic has. Haha! Never much cared for Starfox. It's fine. I've played this. I've played Star Fox 64. You know what my favorite Star Fox game is? Star Fox Adventures. You know why? Because it's not a space combat game. Which is funny because I like Star Wars Rogue Squadron, but I just don't really care for... I don't hate Star Fox, but it's a game... To me, this is a rental game. This is a rent from Blockbuster. 3 hours later, you're done. Anyway, Star Fox. What's next on the Super NES Classic Edition is Super Mario World. Well, of course I have Super Mario World that actually comes with the Super NES, so I think pretty much everybody has Super Mario World. That's not too impressive. But does everybody have Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, like the Super NES Classic does? That, my friends, is an awesome game. One that I actually have. This, I'm not kidding, this is a great game. I don't know if I'd put it over the original Super Mario World. Hard to say, they're very different games, but wonderful, wonderful game. So, let's see, what's next? The Super NES Classic Edition has Super Mario Kart! I don't have Super Mario Kart. I don't like Mario Kart. I don't like racing games. I like learning about them. Like, I get excited when a new Mario Kart is announced because I find it so fun to learn about the game as it's in production. Oh, it's got this character. Oh, it's got this racing track. Oh, that's so cool. An Animal Crossing track? Oh, let's watch a video of it. I geek out over this stuff. And then the game comes out. It's like, oh, man, I have no interest in playing this game. But I do have Earthworm Jim 2. I probably paid like $75 for this, like an idiot. And I think that may be where I said, okay, you know what? I will never pay more than $50 for some again. But I loved the first Earthworm Jim so much. Rented it from Blockbuster or some other local video store. And ended up saving and saving and saving to get the sequel because I loved Earthworm Jim. And this has a lot of great moments. It's a solid game. It's not quite as good as the first. For every step forward, there's a step back. Still a fun game. Super NES Classic has The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. One of the greatest games of all time that any Super NES collection should contain. In fact, you would be ashamed to admit you don't have A Link to the Past. I don't have A Link to the Past. I never played it. I actually never got around to it. I have a confession to make. I never cared for the original Legend of Zelda. I thought it was okay, but I played the original Legend of Zelda and it's like, it's fine. It's a little adventure game. It's fine. I played Zelda 2, Adventure to Link. Didn't much care for that one either. So when the Super NES rolled around and Link to the Past came out, I wasn't really a Zelda fan, so I never bothered even renting the game. It really wasn't until Zelda Ocarina of Time, the N64, where I got back into Zelda. I have since purchased Link to the Past on the Wii U Virtual Console and have played it there. And I think I was in a bad mood when I tried playing it, because I got frustrated. I said, "Oh, screw this game! I'm done with it." I was having a bad day, I think, at the time, so I need to go back and play that game. But the hour or two I played, what I really liked about the game, until I hit a point where that just frustrated me and made me turn it off, was seeing where the stuff that I know and love now originated. Like, I wandered into Kakariko Village, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that village that I know and love from the Zelda games, it's got the same theme music! Oh, this is great! I was nostalgia geeking out over this stuff. So I need to go back and play that. I don't own it, but you know what I do have? I have the Adventures of Batman and Robin. Now, that may seem kind of lame, because I know you've probably played a bunch of licensed Batman games that are terrible. Because I mean, think about it. There's the one on the NES, which is great, and that's about it. I mean, there are some others that are fine, but a lot of the licensed Batman games are just completely terrible. This is actually a good one. This is it's based, as you can tell from the art style, it's based on the 90s television show, and it is really, really fun. So, if you haven't played it, I have it. I've played it. I like it. Next on the Super NES Classic Edition list is FZero. Really, if you're going to collect the games that represent the Super NES, FZero is definitely one you should have in your collection. I do not have FZero in my collection because, again, I don't care for racing games, but I do have the Lion King. It's got a kitty in it, so it's good. It's also one of the games that has its title on the spine upside down, so that's irritating. I've actually got another one in here that does that. Super Metroid. Some people say this is the best game of all time. Those that say it's not the best game of all time at least consider it in the top 10. Yeah, it's up there, man. Super Metroid is a fantastic damn game, and the first time I played it, I rented it from a video store, and oh man. One of the moments that stuck out the most to me was the moment where I figured out that the power bomb, the big explosion one, could bust open that glass cylinder, that walkway that connected two different areas. You could use the power bomb to blow that thing open and walk outside and get to a new area. It's like, oh, so cool! I don't have Super Metroid, but I do have Cool Spot. Which isn't as bad as you probably think it is. Oh, it isn't good. It's not good. But it's actually not that bad. It's also a game that has its damn logo upside down on the spine. Street Fighter II Turbo. Mortal Kombat 2. And now that... You know, honestly, I'd say mechanically Street Fighter is the more solid fighting game. I like Mortal Kombat better. And you're probably thinking, well, Andrew, you're just a gore hound. The only reason you like Mortal Kombat more than Street Fighter 2 is because of the blood and the gore and the fatalities, and you're absolutely right. That's why I like this better than Street Fighter. I'm actually not really a big fan of fighting games. They're kind of like racing games. Like Mario Kart. You know, I like learning about it. I like hearing what all the characters are and what their vehicles are and the different racetracks that are going to be there. It's the same thing with Mortal Kombat and other fighting games. I love the characters, and I like seeing their special moves and their finishers, and then once I've seen all that, I'm done. I have really no desire to play the game. So, yeah, so that's the thing. Secret of Mana. A phenomenal RPG. And the Super NES Classic has a lot of great RPGs on it, and Secret of Mana is one of them. Mortal Kombat 3? I don't have Secret of Mana. I have played it. It's a wonderful RPG. It's at least for its time, very different from anything else I had played up to that point. Wonderful game. I recommend everyone play it. Mortal Kombat 3 is okay. I think 2 is better. This has the bigger roster, but I think 2 is... I don't know if Mortal Kombat's ever really been better than 2. I guess the new ones are pretty good. 9, 10, whatever the numbers are. I think they stopped numbering them. Next on the Super NES Classic list, Donkey Kong Country. You bet your biscuits I've got that one. This is one of my favorite games. I love this series. And, Retro's revival of them on the Wii and the Wii U, sadly overlooked. Those are such great games. In fact, the one on Wii U, Tropical Freeze, that is one of the best platformers I've ever played. Now, some people don't like the way Donkey Kong himself controls. They're like, well, he's really heavy. Yes, he is. And I don't mean that in a very snide, well, he's a gorilla, what did you expect? But yes, he is. He moves heavy, he jumps with a lot of weight, and it's totally understandable if that doesn't feel right to you as a player, especially if you're used to, Mario, who jumps like he's given gravity the finger. But man, Donkey Kong Country. I remember getting a VHS tape in the mail from, I think, Nintendo Power, which was a promo for this, and I was so excited. Great game, great game. And play Tropical Freeze if you have a Wii U, because it's great. Let's see. Super Punch-Out! It's interesting. I don't know which one I prefer. I like the NES Punch-Out better, and I don't know if that's because it's the one I played first. I don't know if it's a nostalgia thing, or if I just don't think Super Punch-Out quite grabbed what made the original so great. Yeah, I think I just like the first one better, because the new Punch-Out that came out on the Wii, which I'm very sad that there haven't been more of those, Nintendo. Come on! Punch-Out on the Wii was fantastic! It's better than Super Punch-Out, in my opinion. You should have made more. So says I. So, even though it's the weakest in the series, in my ridiculously humble opinion, it's still a great game. It's got a lot of charm, it's a lot of fun to play, and I don't have it, but I do have Donkey Kong Country 2, which is also a really great game. So there. Next on the list, Super Castlevania 4. Donkey Kong Country 3. I don't have Super Castlevania 4. Castlevania is another game that I didn't really care for on the NES. I played the first one. I played the second one, Simon's Quest. I never actually played the third one, though, at the time. I have since gone back and played it. It's actually pretty good. I like it much better than the first two. The first two are just mechanically... It's kind of like Ninja Gaiden, in that it's hard because it's not particularly well designed. It's one of those games where the design of the game and a lot of the fact that it's a really early title, it kind of holds it back. Which is why I wasn't particularly interested in Castlevania 4. I did eventually play it, and it is quite good. You know what game I have never played? Symphony of the Night. I know, shame on me. I never had a PlayStation because that was a garbage console. That's right. I said it. The PlayStation couldn't even draw a straight line. Ever play Tony Hawk on the PlayStation? You try to grind a rail and it starts waving like a sine wave. Played Metal Gear Solid. I'm crawling through a duct and there's no texture filtering. The textures on the duct walls and it literally makes me ill. So terrible. Such a garbage console. Oh man, garbage. Donkey Kong Country 3. Weakest of the three. Still pretty good. They killed off Wrinkly Kong. Let's see, what are we on? Contra III, The Alien Wars. Terminator 2, the arcade game. This is a, basically an arcade light gun game, which you play with a controller, which is the worst possible way to play an arcade light gun game. As far as arcade shooters go, this one's okay. And that's it. Oh, Contra 3. Big fan of the original Contra. I can't even think of what Contra 2 was. Was there a Contra 2? Have I just blocked it out of my mind? I can't even think of what Contra 2 was. But I have played Contra 3, and it's, if it's the one I'm thinking of, if it's the one that has, like, the overhead sections that do that Mode 7 rotatey thing, I hate that. The run and gun sections are good. That rotatey thing, that overhead one, oh, the overhead levels, hate those. Hate them, hate them, hate them. Don't remember if that's this game or not. Whatever game it's in, I hate that. Mega Man X! Mega Man X! It's Mega Man X! The story's kind of stupid. X is kind of a whiny turkey. But the games are solid. Gameplay-wise, they're a lot of fun. They do enough different from the classic Mega Man series, I think, to really solidify it as its own series. I prefer the originals more, but I do genuinely like the X series, the first few anyway. They moved over to PlayStation, so I couldn't play them. But I've played some of the later ones, and they just didn't grab me. I don't know if I outgrew them. I don't think I did, or I don't remember which ones I played. I played some of the later ones, like 7 or something like that, and I didn't play them all the way through. I think I played like a couple levels, and I was like, eh. But the first few X games I think are pretty good. Kirby Superstar, Mega Man X2. Kirby Superstar is the first game on the NES Classic lineup that I've actually never played. I never played a Kirby game. And it wasn't one of those, oh, he's pink and he looks girly or something stupid like that. There was just nothing about the game that I found appealing. The first Kirby game I played, I believe, was Epic Yarn, because it looked amazing, and it was a lot of fun. It's super simple, but it's just charming as hell and a lot of fun to play. Since then, I've played several different Kirby games, and while they're a game for me that you have to be in a particular mood for. A very, I'm just not going to think, just going to be on autopilot and let the game wash over me kind of mood, you know? They're not games that you put a lot of thought into, at least the ones I've played. So, yes. Final Fantasy III, which I think is Final Fantasy VI in Japan. Whatever it is, this is one of the best RPGs ever, and you're not going to find a lot of people who will argue with that. Now, granted, Dragon Quest is my jam. That's my favorite RPG series, but Final Fantasy, the early ones, I think are pretty great. It's hard for me to remember which ones I've played. All the ones I played were, I think I've only played 2, so I know I've played 3. I don't remember if I played 1 or 2, and I don't remember which one of the I think it's like 1 and 4 in Japan. It's hard to remember. But 3 is an absolute classic. If you're interested in old RPGs, that's definitely one to play. And I have Mega Man X3. Final Fantasy III was something I rented and played, and the details of the story kind of escape me now, but I do remember being really impressed with the game and having a lot of fun with it. So, Super Mario RPG, another great RPG. One I actually own. This game is overrated. Yeah. Oh yeah, you heard me. Super Mario RPG is overrated. It's still great. It's really, really good. It's not that good, but it's really, really good. I really liked this game. I actually didn't get this until a lot later. It all blurs together, but I know I didn't play this back in the day being mid-90s. I probably didn't play this until like the early 2000s. But I did play it, and it is very good. It's not that good. I have no idea why anyone really likes Geno. Now he's by far one of the most overrated characters. That character just did not connect with me. Neither did Mallow, really. Still, great game. Overrated, which is not to say it's bad. It's just overrated. Still great, just not the greatest, but great. And I have it. It's all mine. And in the box with the manual and stuff. Isn't that cool? Alright, Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Oh yeah, I beat Ghosts and Goblins, the NES one. Yeah. And then when you beat the game, it says, now do it again. I said, no. That's enough. No, once through was enough, thanks. I know I've played Super Ghouls and Ghosts. I think I played this at a friend's house. I don't remember beating this one. I think I've just played like the first few areas. It's fun. I don't have it, but I've got something better. Oh yeah. Yeah. Zombies Ate My Neighbors. This game is a ton of fun. It might actually be way too long for its own good, but I guess it's always there for however long you want to play it, is one way to look at it. But it also has some of the best damn music. Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Wonderful, wonderful game. Okay. How's that? Yeah, we're leaning. Yeah, there we go. Alright, we're getting to the end. SNES Classic has Kirby's Dream Course. Another game I've actually never played. I've heard it's really good. I would like to play it. But I don't have it. I do have Super Mario All-Stars. So that's pretty cool, right? Cooler than Kirby's Dream Course? Maybe. I don't know, Kirby's Dream Course, from what I understand, is kind of like a pinball game or something, and Metroid Pinball turned out really good. I don't know if a Kirby Dream Course is pinball or golf. Maybe it's golf. Something like that. But Metroid Pinball turned out great. And even old pinball games like, maybe not so much pinball, but stuff like Alien Crush, if I've got that name right, are pretty great. So I'm actually really interested in playing Kirby's Dream Course someday. Last on the NES Classic list is Earthbound. I remember seeing Earthbound in the store, or rather the video store, all the time. Because I remember the box with the big yellow star guy on it. I never rented it, though. Never bought it. I don't have it. But I do have another copy of Super Mario World, if that counts. Ignoring Star Fox 2, I have the same number of games that the Super NES Classic does. Even though one's a repeat, and the others I don't have the box for. So, I guess I've got a bit of a confession here. Most of these games I got later in life. My sister had a college roommate, I think, who was getting rid of his Super NES and all of his games. And she said, hey, my roommate's getting rid of his Super NES stuff. You want it? I said, sure. And he had and most of these are his. Let me see. All three Donkey Kongs are mine. One of the Super Mario World is mine. It's back here, Super Mario World. Are any of these mine? You know, it actually might just be the Donkey Kong games, because, oh, Earthworm Jim 2, I remember I bought. Didn't have a whole ton of money when I was a kid. Even less than I have now. So, I've played a ton of games, mostly because I rented a ton of games. Because you could rent a game for a couple dollars for like 5 days, back when I was a youngin'. So I played most of these. Super Mario RPG, I mentioned I played later in life. That's why, because I got it later in life. And that's why I have a duplicate of Super Mario World. It's why I actually have a second Super NES in my closet. This is actually not mine either. This is my cousin's. He gave it to me. He got it for Christmas and then gave it to me. And I think all he had was Super Mario World. So I mostly rented games and just picked stuff up. The Donkey Kongs and Earthworm Jim 2, I think, are the only games I actually bought. Possibly Yoshi's Island I bought, too. And, Mario All-Stars came with that, too. So, what do you think, Internet? Who has the better lineup of Super NES games? Me? Or the Super NES Classic Edition? The Super NES Classic Edition, obviously. I mean, that's just a lineup of absolutely phenomenal classic. If you want, I think Nintendo did a great job of picking the games that really represent the SNES. The games that when you think Super NES, you think of these games. I might actually prefer my collection because these are more the games I want to play. I dig F-Zero and Super Mario Kart mainly for their importance in the library. They're just not games I want to play. But you may have your own opinion, but yeah, I have to hand it to the SNES Classic for having the more solid lineup of games. But, yeah, ain't nothing to sneeze at. So, maybe if they do I would have done a video like this for the NES Classic, but Mom has the NES and the games, and she lives in Kentucky, and that's really far from here, so I didn't do that. But if there's an N64 Classic Edition next year, sure, I'll compare the NES Classic lineup with my own collection, and we'll see who does it better. Take care.